Well, I'm not sure what I'm able to bring. It's what all these very brave ladies tell me.
Tears streamed down the face of Camilla Parker Bowles as she delivered one of the most shocking announcements of her royal journey, her resignation, unfolding live before a stunned global audience. Her trembling voice and visible heartbreak sent waves of disbelief across the world, raising urgent questions about what truly lay beneath the surface. Once regarded as a steady pillar within the monarchy, her sudden departure hints at pressures too great to hide. So, what really drove this deeply emotional and unexpected farewell? Camilla's uncertain future at the heart of the monarchy. A stunning possibility now circles the corridors of Buckingham Palace, one that has left even seasoned royal watchers pausing in disbelief. The idea that Queen Camilla could step away from her title is no longer whispered as mere rumor, but discussed as a moment that could redefine the monarchy itself. With no clear statement from the palace, the silence has only deepened the mystery, raising quiet but persistent questions about what may truly be unfolding behind closed doors. For decades, the British royal family has stood as a symbol of continuity, yet beneath that image lies a careful balancing act between tradition and change. King Charles III has long made it known that he envisions a modern monarchy, one that reflects today's world rather than echoing the past without question. His ideas of a slimmer, more adaptable royal institution have been discussed for years, but moments like this bring those ideas into sharper focus. If Camilla is indeed considering such a step, it may not be sudden at all, but part of a larger, quieter shift already in motion. Her path to the crown was never simple. Since her marriage to Charles in 2005, Camilla has lived under constant public scrutiny, often compared, fairly or not, to Queen Elizabeth II, whose 70-year reign set a standard few could ever match. For many, that comparison shaped how Camilla was viewed, creating a shadow that lingered long after the wedding celebrations had faded. It wasn't until 2022, when Elizabeth publicly expressed her wish for Camilla to be recognized as Queen Consort, that a noticeable shift in public acceptance began to take hold. That moment seemed to secure Camilla's place in royal history. When Charles ascended the throne shortly after, her role appeared firmly defined, her position no longer in doubt. Yet even with that endorsement, the weight of the title has never been light. Being queen is not simply ceremonial. It demands constant presence, unwavering composure, and a willingness to live under a level of attention that never truly fades. Now, as speculation grows, a deeper question quietly emerges. Was this ever a role she fully embraced, or one she accepted out of duty? Camilla has consistently stood beside Charles, offering steady support through both public triumphs and private challenges. But loyalty does not erase pressure, and even the strongest figures can feel the strain of expectations that never rest. If these reports hold any truth, the implications could stretch far beyond one title. It may signal a monarchy willing to reshape itself in real time, guided not only by tradition but by personal choice and evolving realities. And in that possibility lies the real story, not just of a queen who might step aside, but of an institution learning, perhaps for the first time in generations, how to change from within. Camilla sits at the heart of the monarchy, every move under scrutiny and every word magnified. But what pressures could be pushing her to rethink her role, and what consequences might follow for the crown and those around her? The quiet shift behind palace walls. Every gesture within the royal household carries weight. Every word echoes far beyond palace gates, and every decision is measured against centuries of tradition. In such an intense spotlight, even the faintest hint of change can spark powerful questions. Now, attention turns toward Camilla, whose position at the heart of the monarchy has prompted fresh speculation. Could she be reconsidering what her role truly means, and at what cost it comes? The crown has never been a simple symbol of prestige. It is a lifelong commitment shaped by duty, expectation, and constant public observation. For generations, royal titles have been seen as permanent markers of identity, rarely questioned and never easily set aside. Yet the modern age has begun to challenge those assumptions, opening the door to choices once thought unthinkable. If Camilla were to step away from her title, it would not merely be a personal decision. It would ripple through the institution itself, quietly redefining its boundaries. Public reaction to such a possibility reveals a divided mood. Some view it as a bold and thoughtful step, a sign that the monarchy is finally aligning itself with a world that values authenticity over rigid tradition. Others, however, interpret it as a moment of uncertainty, raising concerns about stability and the direction of the royal family under King Charles. In this tension between admiration and doubt lies a deeper question about what the monarchy must become to remain relevant. History offers perspective. When Queen Elizabeth II was crowned in 1953, the ceremony was not only a grand display of tradition, but also a groundbreaking moment of connection. Televised for the first time, it brought the monarchy into living rooms across the nation, reshaping its relationship with the public. That decision, once debated, ultimately strengthened the institution by embracing change rather than resisting it. Today, a different kind of transformation may be unfolding, less visible, yet equally significant. The idea that a senior royal might willingly redefine or even relinquish a title challenges long-held beliefs about duty and permanence. It suggests that the monarchy is no longer a fixed structure, but a living entity, capable of adapting to shifting values and personal realities. At its core, this moment is not only about one individual, but about the evolving identity of the monarchy itself. Is this a careful step toward modernization, reflecting a deeper understanding of personal balance and public service? Or does it signal underlying tensions that remain hidden from view? The answers may not come quickly, but the conversation alone marks a turning point. In a world where tradition and change constantly collide, the monarchy stands at a delicate crossroads. And within that quiet uncertainty, Camilla's potential choice, whether confirmed or not, has already begun to reshape how the crown is seen, not just as a symbol of continuity, but as something far more human, flexible, and open to reinvention. Queen Camilla appeared composed on the surface, yet behind the palace doors, cracks had been forming for years. What mounting pressures finally forced her to step back, and how did long-hidden tensions erupt into a storm that would shake the monarchy's carefully crafted image in early 2026? A crown under strain. To understand why Queen Camilla stepped away from one of the most scrutinized roles in the world, you have to look beyond the polished ceremonies and into the quiet fractures that had long been hidden from public view. What once seemed like a carefully controlled institution began, slowly but unmistakably, to lose its grip on the image it had spent decades protecting. By early 2026, the tension had grown impossible to ignore, and Camilla found herself standing at the center of a storm that had been building for years. Long before her emotional announcement, whispers had already begun to circulate about troubling issues within palace walls. Reports pointed to patterns of silence, decisions made behind closed doors, and questions about finances that refused to go away. Each new revelation added pressure, turning quiet concerns into loud, unavoidable headlines. The monarchy, known for its discipline and order, suddenly appeared uncertain, even vulnerable. At the same time, old wounds reopened. When Spare was released in January 2023, it reignited debates that had never truly faded. Prince Harry portrayed Camilla in a way that challenged the narrative the palace had worked so hard to rebuild. For years, her public image had been reshaped with care, presenting her as steady, committed, and resilient. But those efforts began to weaken under the weight of renewed criticism, and doubts returned among those who had never fully accepted her place in the royal family. Behind the scenes, relationships grew strained. Trust became fragile, and alliances that once seemed firm began to shift. What had appeared to the world as unity was, in reality, far more complicated. The pressure was not sudden. It was the result of years of expectation, scrutiny, and internal conflict slowly piling up. When Camilla finally spoke, the moment carried a weight few could have predicted. Standing before cameras, her composure faltered, revealing the emotional toll of everything she had endured. Her words were simple, yet heavy with meaning, as she admitted that the burden had become too much to carry. It was a rare and deeply human moment in an institution built on control and tradition. Her decision sent shockwaves across the United Kingdom and beyond. A queen consort stepping down in modern times was almost unheard of, and it forced many to reconsider what they thought they understood about the monarchy. Supporters saw courage in her choice, praising her endurance through decades of public judgment. Critics, however, viewed it as a delayed consequence of a past that had never fully settled. At Buckingham Palace, the response was measured and brief, offering little clarity. The silence only deepened the mystery, leaving questions hanging in the air. What truly led to this moment, and how much remains hidden from view? For King Charles III, the challenge now is clear. With Camilla gone from public duty, the monarchy must navigate an uncertain path forward, one where its strength, unity, and future will be tested more than ever before. Shockwaves are rocking the palace as private disagreements between Camilla, Catherine, and Princess Anne erupt into a public storm. But what fueled this hidden struggle, and how did years of quiet tension suddenly become impossible to contain? Inside the royal rift that changed everything. Shockwaves ripple through the palace in a way few could have imagined, as whispers of private disagreements give way to a very public storm. What once seemed like quiet tension among Camilla, Catherine, and Princess Anne has grown into something far more serious, something impossible to hide. Behind the polished appearances and carefully planned engagements, a deeper struggle has been unfolding, and now it stands fully exposed. For years, the monarchy relied on a delicate balance, one that kept differences behind closed doors. But somewhere along the line, that balance began to crack. By early 2024, signs of strain were no longer subtle. Public appearances felt colder, statements more measured, and the sense of unity that once defined the royal image started to fade. Observers began to notice, and questions slowly turned into widespread concern. At the heart of it all stands King Charles, caught in a position that demands both authority and sensitivity. His reign, which officially began in 2022, was expected to usher in stability and continuity. Instead, it has become a period marked by difficult choices and rising pressure. Every decision he makes now carries weight far beyond the palace walls, shaping not just the present, but the future of the monarchy itself. The situation took a dramatic turn when Camilla's standing within the royal structure appeared to shift unexpectedly. What seemed sudden to the public was, in reality, the result of tensions that had been building over time. Differences in approach, influence, and perhaps even vision created an environment where compromise became harder to reach. As these internal struggles intensified, the consequences could no longer be contained. Meanwhile, Catherine and Princess Anne have emerged as steady but firm figures within this unfolding situation. Their roles, though different in style, reflect a shared commitment to preserving the institution's credibility. Yet even that shared goal has not been enough to prevent friction. The question is no longer whether disagreements exist, but how far they might go. London, long seen as the center of royal tradition and control, now finds itself at the center of global attention for very different reasons. The palace, once a symbol of unity, has become the stage for a conflict that raises serious questions about leadership and direction. Is this a temporary storm, or a sign of deeper, lasting change? As the days pass, the pressure continues to build. Decisions are being made, alliances are shifting, and the world is watching closely. The monarchy has faced challenges before, but rarely with such intensity in the modern era. This moment feels different, more uncertain, more revealing, and perhaps more defining than anything in recent memory. What lies ahead remains unclear, but one thing is certain. The image of quiet harmony has been replaced by a reality far more complex. And as the story continues to unfold, it leaves behind a lingering question. Can the monarchy adapt in time, or has it already crossed a point of no return? Behind the palace walls, a quiet storm was brewing, threatening the monarchy's carefully maintained balance. But what long-standing tensions between Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, pushed her toward this defining moment? And how would it reshape royal dynamics forever? The crown at a crossroads. Behind palace walls, where tradition is guarded as fiercely as reputation, a quiet storm had been building, one that would soon shake the very balance of the monarchy. At the center stood Queen Camilla, a figure whose journey into royal acceptance had never been simple, now facing perhaps her most defining moment yet. Long before the headlines, subtle tensions had taken root. Her relationship with Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, had always carried an unspoken strain, shaped by differences in vision and public perception. While Catherine's effortless connection with the public seemed to grow stronger each year, Camilla often found herself navigating a far more complicated path to acceptance. Everything began to shift in early 2024, when William quietly introduced a bold plan to reshape royal duties. His goal was clear: to modernize the monarchy and ensure its survival in a rapidly changing world. But progress came with a price. Roles that had once defined Camilla's place were gradually reassigned. Engagements she had championed for years began moving into the hands of younger royals, while Catherine's presence expanded across key national and international appearances. At a private gathering in Balmoral Castle, where senior royals met to discuss the future, the weight of these changes became impossible to ignore. What was intended as a strategic conversation turned deeply personal. For Camilla, it felt less like evolution and more like erasure. Reports suggest her reaction was unusually emotional, revealing years of quiet struggle to secure her place within an institution that had never fully embraced her. Observers like Richard Fitzwilliams later noted that her response reflected more than frustration. It exposed a deeper fear of being sidelined just as the monarchy entered a new era. Her criticism of Catherine, a royal widely admired for calm and consistency, only intensified the sense of division. Even Princess Anne, known for her steady commitment to tradition, appeared caught between two worlds. She understood the need for change, yet recognized the cost it carried for those rooted in the old order. The monarchy, once united by clear roles and hierarchy, now seemed to stand at a fragile intersection of past and future. Then came the moment no one expected. By mid-2025, whispers turned into shock as Camilla stepped away, her departure raising questions that echoed far beyond palace gates. Within Buckingham Palace, uncertainty spread quickly. Advisors were divided. Some urged silence to avoid further damage, while others feared that ignoring such a decision would signal weakness at the heart of the institution. At the center of it all was King Charles III, whose silence spoke louder than any statement. Was it strategy, hesitation, or something deeper? The monarchy had weathered crises before, from public scandals to internal disputes. But this felt different. This was not something imposed from outside. It was a choice made from within. As William and Catherine continue shaping what comes next, the question lingers in every corner of the palace. Can tradition and transformation truly coexist, or has the crown reached a turning point from which there is no easy return? Camilla Parker Bowles built a life under the shadow of controversy, her past entwined with questions few could forget. But what challenges and public judgments continued to shape her path, even decades after her marriage to King Charles III? Camilla's uncertain exit, Few figures in modern royal history have carried a reputation as complex as Camilla Parker Bowles. Long before she stood beside King Charles III, her name stirred debate, shaped by a past that many never forgot and some never forgave. Though she was never tied to any crime, her story remained entangled in moral questions dating back to the era of Princess Diana, a legacy that lingered in the public mind for decades. When April 9, 2005 arrived, her marriage to Charles marked not just a personal milestone, but a careful public compromise. She became Duchess of Cornwall, a title chosen with precision, avoiding the emotional weight tied to Diana's former role. It was a quiet acknowledgement that acceptance would not come easily. Over time, however, she adapted to royal life, stepping into duties, appearing at engagements, and slowly building a presence within the institution that had once seemed reluctant to embrace her. The turning point came on September 8, 2022, when the passing of Queen Elizabeth II reshaped the monarchy overnight. Charles ascended the throne, and Camilla's position evolved with it, placing her at the very center of royal power. By May 6, 2023, she stood crowned beside him, a moment that symbolized not just status, but survival, proof that she had endured years of scrutiny to claim her place in history. Yet, just as that long journey appeared complete, uncertainty returned. Her sudden departure from royal prominence has left observers questioning everything. Was it a personal decision? A quiet step back in alignment with a modern vision championed by Charles and Prince William? Or does it hint at deeper tensions behind palace walls, tensions that rarely surface but often shape the monarchy's direction? For loyal supporters of the crown, her exit feels like a rupture, an abandonment of the lifelong duty expected within the royal family. To critics, it is something else entirely, a reflection of an institution struggling to adapt, where even those at its highest level are not immune to pressure. Camilla's departure is not simply about losing a title. It represents a shift in influence, a retreat from the authority she once held, and perhaps a sign of changing priorities within the royal household. More importantly, it exposes a deeper question about the monarchy itself. For centuries, it has weathered crises, scandals, and transformation. But in an era defined by public scrutiny and evolving expectations, its resilience is being tested in new ways. Camilla's story, from contested figure to crowned queen, and now to an uncertain role, mirrors that struggle. As the dust settles, one truth stands out. The monarchy is once again at a defining moment, and the world is watching closely. Tears marked Camilla's unexpected announcement to step back as queen consort, a role she had held with unwavering poise. But what drove this unprecedented choice, and was it a retreat or a bold redefinition of power within the monarchy's rigid traditions? Camilla's bold choice, redefining royal influence. Tears streamed as Camilla announced a decision few saw coming. She would step back from the title of queen consort, leaving a role she had held with poise and determination for years. At first glance, it seemed like a retreat, a quiet surrender of status, but beneath the surface, it may be a carefully considered shift, a chance to redefine what influence looks like within the British monarchy. For decades, she navigated the world of royal protocol, performing duties steeped in ceremony and expectation, while quietly championing causes close to her heart. The question lingered: was the title a platform or a cage? By relinquishing the formal crown, Camilla appears to choose freedom over formality. Freed from the constraints of tradition, she can focus on the work that has defined her life, raising awareness for domestic abuse, promoting literacy, and advocating for women's rights. These are not fleeting passions, but lifelong commitments she has nurtured quietly, even while under the glare of public scrutiny. Now, her impact may extend further, reaching beyond palaces and press releases into the communities that need her most. Without ceremonial obligations dictating every step, she can connect more directly with the public, leveraging her influence in ways that are deeply personal and profoundly meaningful. Her decision also reflects the quiet evolution within the royal family itself. In recent years, figures like Prince William and Princess Kate have embraced a modern approach, favoring engagement over tradition and authenticity over spectacle. Camilla's choice fits seamlessly into this shift, suggesting a monarchy that is not frozen in pageantry but alive to the values of today. Real power, she seems to signal, is measured not by titles or hierarchy, but by the ability to create tangible change. Public perception of the monarchy has been slowly transforming, with growing calls for transparency and relevance. By stepping back from a title that has long defined her, Camilla may bridge the gap between royal ceremony and public service, showing that influence can be quiet, flexible, and action-driven. This is not a disappearance, but a redefinition, a move that allows her to leave a mark not through pomp, but through purpose. In choosing this path, she proves that stepping aside from a throne does not mean stepping away from responsibility. It is, instead, an embrace of a role that is alive, dynamic, and profoundly human. Camilla's journey reminds the world that sometimes the most courageous acts are those that free us to act with intention, heart, and unwavering resolve. Queen Camilla's decision to step back shocked many, yet felt inevitable to some. What personal and public pressures led her to this unprecedented choice, and how will it reshape her role and the monarchy itself? Camilla's quiet revolution, redefining royal influence. Tears streamed as the announcement reverberated through the corridors of the palace. Camilla would be stepping away from her formal role as queen consort. The news, unexpected yet quietly inevitable to some, sent a ripple of curiosity and speculation across the nation and the Commonwealth. For decades, she had lived under the unrelenting gaze of public scrutiny, her every gesture and word dissected. Yet now, she was poised to step into a space defined not by protocol, but by purpose. Far from signaling an end to her influence, this departure marks the beginning of a subtle yet profound transformation within the monarchy. Freed from the rigid structures that once dictated every move, Camilla is likely to assume a role more advisory than ceremonial, offering guidance to King Charles while pursuing the causes that ignite her passion. Literacy initiatives, domestic abuse awareness, and animal welfare campaigns were only the surface of her contributions. Now, without the weight of tradition pressing down, her work could take on a new intensity and authenticity. This shift raises questions that intrigue both the public and royal observers alike. Is this a personal decision, or a sign of a broader evolution within the monarchy? Could other senior royals follow her lead, choosing influence and fulfillment over strict adherence to inherited roles? While the answers remain uncertain, one thing is clear. Camilla's choice challenges centuries-old assumptions about what it means to serve the crown. Titles, once the defining measure of a royal's significance, may now give way to the impact and resonance of their work. In stepping back, Camilla also reshapes the future for the younger generation of royals. The Prince and Princess of Wales find themselves at the forefront, navigating increased responsibility as the institution subtly pivots toward relevance in a rapidly modernizing world. Here, monarchy and modernity intersect, where tradition meets authenticity and ceremonial duties blend with tangible societal influence. Yet perhaps the most compelling aspect of Camilla's journey is the story it tells about resilience and reinvention. From a figure once overshadowed by criticism to a consort recognized for her dedication and poise, she has demonstrated an ability to redefine herself and her role on her own terms. Her legacy may well become a blueprint for modern royalty, less bound by expectation, more driven by meaningful action, and defined not by the weight of a crown, but by the difference one can make. As the palace adapts to her departure, the questions linger, quietly compelling. What new paths will she carve behind the scenes, and how might this subtle revolution shape the monarchy's future? Only time will reveal the full scope of her influence. But Camilla's next chapter promises to be as intriguing as the life she has lived in the public eye. So what do you think made Camilla Parker Bowles break down and resign on live TV in tears? We'd like to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe.